4 seconds of laughter. That was all the wreckage had left behind, and Senate linguist Cale stood in the playback chamber listening to it for the 11th time. Feathers shedding from his left arm in uneven patches, the old molt scar burning dark against pale quills. His beak clamped shut so hard his jaw ached. The file looped again. He did not press stop. If you've ever heard something that made your skin prickle before your brain caught up, you know exactly where Cale is right now. Stay close. This one lingers. Should be a routine translation job, his supervisor had said 2 days earlier, tossing the file across the perch desk like it was nothing. The canteen had smelled like roasted seed pod that morning. Cale had cracked it open expecting static. Wreckage transmissions were almost always static. Fragmented distress calls, automated beacons cycling through dead frequencies. The listening post received dozens per rotation cycle. Most got cataloged and archived within the hour. This one was 4 seconds long. Laughter, human laughter, uncompressed, recorded clean. No distortion, no background engine noise, no context. Just a voice, mid-breath, caught in something that sounded close to joy. Cale played it once and his crest feathers lifted involuntarily. He played it again. By the third pass, he noticed his thermal vision had shifted. The edges of the chamber walls were bleeding into amber, then orange, creeping toward the threat-red spectrum his species reserved for predator detection. His body was classifying the sound before his training could intervene, which meant the readings were wrong. Or his body wasn't. He ran the sub-frequency analysis on the 5th listen, standard procedure for unidentified audio, though most linguists skipped it for files this short. Cale did not skip steps. The spectrograph returned results that made him set his status stylus down and stare at the display for a full 30 seconds without blinking. Beneath the laughter, embedded below the audible range, the file contained structured frequencies. Not noise, not compression artifacts. Organized, repeating, mathematically intentional sound, layered so precisely that it sat just beneath the threshold of conscious perception. The kind of frequency a listener would never notice, but their neurology would. It turned out humans could detect stimuli at the extreme edge of sensory possibility. Their eyes could register a single photon under optimal conditions, and their auditory processing operated on a similar principle. They built their music the same way. Sounds designed to land just below awareness, shaping emotional response before the conscious mind had any say in the matter. Cale cross-referenced the frequency signature against the post's archive of known human transmissions, commercial broadcasts, military channels, diplomatic greetings sent during first contact exchanges, entertainment signals leaked across open bands. Every single one contained the same base frequency. A low, cycling pattern underneath everything, consistent across centuries of human broadcast history. Cale magnified it, isolated it, slowed it down by a factor of 12. The waveform resolved into something unmistakable. A lullaby, soft and old and patient, stitched into the substructure of every transmission humanity had ever sent into open space. His assistant, Dreadnought, leaned over from the adjacent perch. Her crest was flat with confusion. A lullaby embedded in military transmissions? In all of them, Cale said. That makes no sense. Why would a species capable of composing something this precise ever need warships? Cale's beak opened slightly, then closed. His left arm shed 3 feathers at once, the dark ones from the scar. The warships, he said quietly, are for species who don't listen to the music. Dreadnought went still. Beat 4 landed without warning. The old scar on Cale's left arm, the discolored patch from a childhood molting accident 20 years healed, began to itch. Not a surface itch. Deep in the tissue itself, as though something buried in the skin recognized the frequency before his conscious mind could name it. Scar tissue, remembering a danger his thoughts had forgotten. His hand moved to cover it, pressing feathers flat against scales, and the pressure did nothing. He pulled the archive wider, not just human transmissions to Brythane space, all of them. Every intercepted human signal the Talon Senate had cataloged, and then, through diplomatic data-sharing channels, Every signal the other senates and councils and federations had catalogued too. The lullaby was in all of them, but that was not the part that made Cale's thermal vision flood completely red. 12 empires had received concentrated bursts of the lullaby. Direct, targeted transmissions sent on frequencies each empire used internally, as if the sender already knew which channels to use. 12 empires across 9 galactic sectors, none of them in contact with each other, none sharing intelligence networks or cultural exchanges. All 12 had undergone sudden, voluntary military stand-downs within one local year of receiving the transmission. Surrendered was too strong a word. They simply stopped. Weapons programs dissolved. Border fleets recalled. Territorial claims quietly abandoned. 12 independent civilizations arriving at the same conclusion without once speaking to each other, like seeds planted in separate soil all breaking the surface on the same morning. Cale scrolled through the records with feathers falling from both arms now, the scarred dark ones and the healthy pale ones alike, his body shedding in a stress molt he could not control. No official explanation existed in any of the 12 archives. Each empire had rationalized its own stand-down differently. Economic efficiency, strategic repositioning, cultural evolution. None of them mentioned music. None of them knew. But someone did. At the 72% mark of the audio file, past the laughter, past the silence that followed it, there was a single embedded word that Cale had missed on every previous listen because it sat at the exact perceptual threshold his species could barely register. He slowed the play back to 1/16th speed. The word surfaced like something rising from deep water. Remember, one word, not a warning, not a threat, an instruction, spoken with the calm of someone who had done this before and would do it again, patient as gravity. And now, back in the sealed chamber on the 12th. Listen, Cale understood why his hands had been shaking since the first. The laughter on the file did not belong to the wreckage victims. The crew manifest listed no survivors, and the voice pattern matched none of the dead. Someone else had placed this file in the wreckage, placed it the way a cartographer places a pin, deliberately, precisely. They had been laughing because they already knew. Cale's beak opened, closed. The wind channels in the chamber hummed against his bare patches of scaled skin where feathers had fallen away, and for the first time in his career he felt cold in a temperature-regulated room. The lullaby did not fail. It had never failed. 12 for 12, and those were only the empires the record showed. The laughter was not cruelty, it was certainty. The sound of someone watching a stone drop and knowing with absolute confidence that it would fall. Drenev's voice reached him from the corridor. Cale, the Senate wants your preliminary analysis filed by third rotation. He looked at the spectrograph still glowing on the display. The lullaby's waveform pulsed in slow, even cycles, and he realized he had been breathing in time with it for several minutes without noticing. His left arm throbbed. The scar had not stopped itching. 40 days later, the Talon Senate quietly recalled its border fleet from the Median Expanse. The official reason cited was logistical restructuring. Senate linguist Cale filed no objection. He had listened to the file 431 times by then, and his preliminary analysis remained 3 sentences long. He could not bring himself to write a fourth. On his perch desk, the spectrograph display had long since gone dark, but the lullaby's waveform was burned into the screen in faint phosphor traces, still pulsing, a ghost of a rhythm that had no intention of stopping. Somewhere, he was certain, someone was laughing. Sometimes a story stays with you the way a frequency stays in the walls. If this one got under your skin, come back tomorrow. We'll be here. There's always another signal.